Was.
That's what they wanted to use.
Really? What did you do?
That's because you're being fucking impatient and you push the button.
On the front row, ready to go. You ready? Yeah, you said.
You're set. Let's go. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today is February 20th, 2025. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, if you please. It's so nice to see all the town employees going home. It's Thursday at 7. Good night. Okay, a roll call, except for you two lovely ladies. Roll call and Mr. Edge, of course.
June Daly. Here. Anthony Miller here. Right. Diane Joycey.
Here.
Tim Zigmont. Brian Rogan, Chairman Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Hamel asked to be excused.
Yes.
Mike Paschak asked to be excused. John Dyken, alternate,
Present.
and Steve Biella Jr., alternate.
Here,
Oh, there you are, Steve. There you are, Steve.
All right, so you have one regular member who's excused, so you can seat one person.
I'll seat John Dyken because he's here. And hopefully Steve Biella will be joining again soon.
absolutely.
Okay, so the roll call's done. We have the yearly event, which is the election of officers. So we'll just do this now and I know, it's just,
And my understanding is the secretary to nominate or make one vote for. That carries, but if it's not rejected, but somebody has to nominate each person.
all right, so do we start with the chair or do we start with the secretary?
I think the chair.
Okay, so we have an. So we have an
I'll-
election of officers, so for the chair, do
I'll
we
make
have
a
any?
motion to nominate Joan Veely for chairwoman.
That was mean. I was like, okay, here, go.
I will second.
Oh, good. All right, very second. Do we have any other, second was either Andra or Diane, because they kind of
Diane.
went in. All right, so, do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, I'm going to close and ask the secretary to cast one vote.
All right,
Chair, okay, thank you. For vice chair, do we have any nominations for vice chair for the commission?
I will make the motion to nominate Diane Jorsey.
Okay, we have a motion to nominate Diane Jorsey. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Zigmont. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I'll ask the secretary to cast one vote, please.
I,
Okay, nominations for secretary for the commission. Do we
I'll
have a
nominate Brian Rogan.
nomination for Brian Rogan? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Ms. Millard. Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Hearing none, I'll ask I will, as the chair, cast one vote for Mr. Rogan as the secretary. Okay, thank you all. Okay, that's done. Phew.
Thank you all.
You big time. Approval of the minutes for January 16th, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Do we have any additions or corrections?
I noted no corrections. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Jorsey to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Daly. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Thank you. Moving on, receipt of new applications and scheduling of public hearings as required or necessary. We have a site plan amendment for an application of Michael Nixer for proposed addition and site improvements at 306 Main Street in the CCD2 zone.
So this does not require scheduling. It does not have a public hearing. No hearing needs to be scheduled. We're going to anticipate March 20th for the site plan because March 6th was decided to be basically dedicated to the amendments. to
Okay,
Public hearings.
all right, so,
So move to add this item to the agenda of the March 20th meeting.
okay, we have a motion by Ms. Dorsey, a second by Mr. Zigmont for the discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Okay, going on to commissioner business. Item A, commission comment and it's just on and discussion of staff consultant proposed text amendments relating to the Berlin Turnpike zones and core area 2 zoning as presented by FHI Studio. All right. And I think we have, yes, there you are, Francesca. How you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent.
Well, excuse me. if-
Yes, go ahead.
Chair. We don't really expect a presentation or anything from Francisco at this point, or from FHI or the rest of staff at this point. It was because you requested to review that handout that was given to you at the last time we met, which was the January meeting, and make sure it basically aligned. I'll just remind you that the text amendments were rewritten from the PowerPoint that was discussed a number of times, as they will be posted. And tonight is for additional thoughts before posting that language tomorrow. This is a reminder that the proposal is a result of a bunch of meetings, work of the consultant, meetings with EDC, meetings with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they're facilitated by the EDC. So some of the points that may be subject to debate or more vigorous debate than others. I am aware that EDC would like to be able to speak to those at the public hearing, which is why some of the language was not necessarily changed from per all comments made. Sometimes we heard comments from different people that had different takes on them. So this was the language that seemed to be the melding for the most part. But the public hearing will be where those debates and testimony is appropriate. But today, if you've all looked through it and you have feedback before we actually post the language, presumably tomorrow for the public hearing at the next meeting, we would like to get that feedback. And I don't know if Jim or Francisco has any other questions for you, but if you have feedback for us, we'd appreciate it.
Right, Commission, has everyone had a chance to review it? And do you have is there anything jumping off the page at you? Is there anything that you would like to bring to the attention of the commission or the consultant?
Well, I guess we're going to bring that up at the.
Yeah,
the
but
meeting.
but I didn't know if you had anything to
Well, I
help
just-
them
I
out
just
with the
have that
direction.
One about the acreage size. That's
Okay.
All I have had,
All right,
basically.
all right.
And that we do know that EDC seemed to have the consensus that that's what they are proposing to be discussed. They would like to be heard.
Okay.
They would like to be heard on the acreage size.
Okay, so do you need a motion from us to set this into a public hearing?
No, you set the public hearing already at a
Okay.
previous meeting. This was, you asked us before we post the language that you get one more look
Okay,
it over before we post it that way. I will remind you that at when you deliberate after a public hearing on an item of the language change and map change, you can make amendments to that. You can change the language as you go through, as long as you I guess don't make it more, instead you make it less, and I don't really know how to better describe that. You can't expand the language, without reposting, but you can refine it and eliminate portions and things like that. So you can, in part, accept it
And that's.
when you go to deliberation.
Okay, that just went to my point, because the presentation said 1 acre. Okay. Presentation said 1 acre. I proposed 2 acres. And then there was a compromise to 1.5. But that be an addition to what the thing says. So that's my question is, so if
So you
my problem is that if I can't at the public hearing,
I think actually that's
That's
the
an
opposite,
expansion.
because it's currently 2 acres and it's a reduction to 1.5.
no.
So if you kept it at 2, it would be
No change.
leaving it.
Okay, but
I
the-
know that expansion and I guess the
the
word
written-
expansion was probably
The
not. the
written
best.
thing that we got said
choice.
1 acre, and you're doing a public hearing on the 1 acre. Okay, and the economic development wants to speak about in support probably of the 1 acre. I don't know what they want to speak, but I think the support of 1 acre. And my opinion was that it should stay at 2 or be 1.5. So that would be an upper change from what's printed. So that's what you just stated, that you can't you can't expand it.
Yeah,
You only
that's what I
could do-
said. I think I used the wrong term with expand because it's currently 2. So a change between, I'm sorry, Francisco, do you have it in front of you? It's written as 1.5?
Well,
Right.
it depends what aspect of the regulations we're talking about. Within the BT1, by example, that we're recommending a reduction from 2 acres to 1 acre.
So,
That's right.
so I would think reducing it further to 1 acre might require renoticing. But 1.5 to 2
I-
is the change from
I
between
get
our
it from
two.
our person up there that's proposing it to 1 acre. And it's going to a public hearing as 1 acre. And if it was bringing it down to 1 from 2, like you're saying, then it must have been advertised at 2, and then at the meeting, we can recommend down to 1.5 or 1, right? Which is lowering the acreage that is in present right now. So that's what my question is that will be either way, it's lowering the acreage, okay? From 2 to 1 or 1.5. Or if the commission says leave it at 2, but
I think you would be able to, I'm sorry, you said it was advertised. I mean, it's in the language at 1.5 now.
it's 1,
For
it's
BT
1 right,
one,
it's at 1 right now.
in the
Text amendment.
it's in the text at 1 because that's what EDC asked for.
Right,
So between
Thank you.
what is there in the language currently at 2, the proposal for 1, you could deliberate to someplace in between without requiring a renotice.
That's correct.
That is my understanding of text amendments. You've done it we did it with little houses. You've done it with the H2O text amendments where it was if it's it's currently 2, the lowering is to 1.5, you can decide on something in between what you notice and what exists. You just couldn't go outside that on either end.
Yeah,
That's so everyone that I think I participated in for public hearing for changing of regs, whatever proposal we get, we got. And that's presented to the public. And then after we deliberate on it, we have discussion on it. And we have discussion on it, and then the commission at that time does whatever they want to do with it, okay? And if it's even upping it or lowering it, whatever the commission decides at that time, after the public meeting, that's what it's gonna be, but so I don't understand. I mean, if it starts off at 2, which it is now, I think it should have been advertised as 2, and then brought to the meeting, public meeting as, here's our suggestion, down to 1 or 1.5, whatever it is, okay? And then the commission thinks about it and says, okay, do we want 1 or 1.5, or do we want to leave it the same? Okay. You know, the public has to know what the proposal is. This item is 2 acres right now, and here's our suggestion. Okay,
So
and then we
That-
hear it from the public and say, okay, the public says they don't want it down to a 1. They want a 1.5. Okay. And in our discussions, we said, well, the public said they like to leave it at 1.5. And we have to make a decision,
mhm.
or they want to leave it at the 2. You know, so that's the procedure that I
So that's the way it
Recognize.
will be averaged.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Okay.
saying is within your perimeter, but you wouldn't be able to say, take
Expand
it down to 0.5 or up to 3, because it's outside that window
Outside the.
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
the range, because somebody might not care if it goes down to 1, but if you're gonna go all the way down to a half acre, they might come out to the meeting.
yeah.
So it has to be within the range of the current reg and the proposed reg. It has to be within that range. You can modify it within the range of what's advertised.
So what was advertised? I'm just trying.
So it
to
hasn't been
simplify it. What
advertised
was
yet.
advertised?
This will be advertised. The handout you got,
Okay.
unless you give us direction that
Then
something
then
is
I
wrong.
would say that the ad going out should say existing
It
is
does.
2.
It says
And
from the
proposal
minimum lot
is one.
size from 2 acres to 1 acre. That's the way it's written. On the copy I have, I may
the
have a
commission could
previous
do anything.
iteration.
Anything in that range, okay, that's the way you wanna do it, it's just,
Yeah, I don't
giving
think
the
I
public time.
bothered to reprint my hard copy.
Yeah,
That's all right.
it's just make
Uh,
sure in the public,
I'll-
gets the proposal.
All right, June, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, just. I was thinking I have the page that Tim is talking about on page 3 on that handout from the other week. In page 3, number 3, line E, and it shows that it was recommended down to 1 acre. And then I think Tim proposed a split, which is 1.5. And so we should show then the 1.5, right? Because that's what we're recommending. I think we pretty much agreed on that. But we could change it. I mean, that was just the conversation.
Okay, you were noting page 3, but was this under item 4 or we're on page 3? I'm sorry.
Under
There's a
3.
couple of pages.
Oh,
All right, so you have under 3.
here, you can pass this down and then you can see.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'm okay with leaving it as written. I mean, we know we were talking about 1.5, but having it go down to 1 gives us that leeway. And as the staff report from economic development has said, is that they might come to us with some convincing arguments. So if we go to 1, like Maureen was saying, we can't go down to 0.5, we might tie our hands by saying we're only going down to 1.5, because then people wouldn't come out for 1. So I would say just leave it as it's written, and then if we so choose to do 1.5, that's what we so choose.
Okay, and June,
Yeah, I think part of Tim's suggestion for the 1.5 was the home that we had some challenges with because we had made some wording changes on our booklet. And then it allowed for a small home to be brought into a neighborhood that might or might not have been the best fit, but we were, had a lot of conversation over it. Now, I think
Yeah.
that's why he suggested 1.5 and not 1. And another year we can go down farther. So it shows some flexibility down from 2 to 1.5.
yeah, but right now the range is between 1 and 2, correct? The acreage lane?
Information from Francisco, but I believe that's the language.
I think that's the range that's being advertised, correct?
And to remind us what zones we're talking about the BT1 and the BT2. They are commercial zones, so so the concerns about development of a house on a smaller lot are not applicable to these zones. The
Okay.
current requirement, minimum acreage in both the BT1 and the BT2 is now 2 acres per lot. Our research and discussion with EDC has shown us that there are many lots that are less than 2 acres. So you have many lots that are made non-conforming by the existing regulations. And for that reason, it's very difficult for property owners to improve their properties. The intention of this is to bring most of those properties into conformance to encourage reinvestment, redevelopment of those properties. That's the exact purpose. And it is, once again, it's limited to the BT1 and BT2. The current requirement is 2 acres. We are recommending 1 acre, and that is based upon the size of the lots that are out there. If we were to reduce to 1.5 acres, I think even that would be an improvement. But it would still result in many, many lots remaining non-conforming, which really challenges a property owner to substantially improve their properties. And they would have to be fortunate enough to go to ZBA and demonstrate a legitimate hardship in order to do that. So that's the purpose, and that's exactly what has been proposed.
Okay. All right. And anyone else have anything else that jumps off or anything they want to share?
I just want to say, we weren't talking about a house, we're talking about commercial property.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and the reason why was suggested 1.5 is that you can get a substantial commercial piece of building on a 1.5 properties, on 1.5 acres. On 1 acre, it's not gonna be a substantial commercial structures. Okay, so that's the reason of it. And the reason of the 2 acre was same thing, is that we wanted substantial development. Okay, that will combine in a couple of those 1 acre lots in order to get commercial structures that are bigger than a 1 acre would allow.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why. So the square footage allowed on the property of commercial structure in a commercial zone. Now, a small little commercial, maybe you want to put a small little commercial, you want to do a couple lawyers' offices. Is that what you want in that commercial area on the Pearl and Turpine? I don't know, but that's the reason why, is the size of the structure if you can go on the property.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have a point that you'd like to raise at this point? Okay. So I think what we'll do is taking that in consideration, and we'll just move forward with posting the language so that we can then get into our deliberations and have our public hearing. Okay?
Do you need
All
a
right.
motion or?
I don't
No,
know.
I think it was just a matter of having this as a discussion item, so we know how to post
Okay.
the language. And for the record, the language will be posted with the legal ad in the town clerk's office, on the town's website, and we'll have it on the bulletin board in our office as well.
Okay.
It'll be the legal ad with the language attached to it and the map change that's happening, or that's also proposed. And the legal ad itself that's in the newspaper just refers to that posting.
Okay. All right. Terrific. All right. So closing that out and moving on. All right. Item B is commission comment and discussion of the Berlin zoning regulations for 822 and the subdivision regulations 553 regarding potential amendment to the building square language. Yeah, we want to revisit that.
Right, so you had asked us to revisit that
Yeah.
and look at it, and we went back and looked through the files and the amendment made in 2023, including the staff reports. In that package, we included the 2016 amendment that clarified this. So the amendment in 2023 was clarifying existing language that was clarified in 2016 that was still not clear enough, I guess. In 2003, there had been an amendment on it, as well as 1991 background. So in that package, you received the minutes from that and a lot of reasoning and the background on it. And what we were having trouble discerning is what it is about the building square that you would like us to look at, because we, when we looked at through that process in 2023, we also looked at the language in many towns and whether the building square had to be, for lack of, I hope I say this right, meet setbacks, or if it could be anywhere on the lot all the way to the area that is a setback, out to the road, for instance.
Mhm.
And we had found that most towns that we researched a bunch of them that was allowed. It can be anywhere on the lot. Part of the language you adopted does exclude easement areas, which was designed to address lots where you have a big easement through the middle that can't be built on. There has to still be that reasonable square on the lot to be used, because sometimes the easement may may restrict it from being used depending on the type of easement it is. So what we're not sure is what direction you're looking for us to go in. So those were all clarifications. The last 3 iterations were clarifications that the conclusion was the setback can be anywhere on the lot. The building square, sorry, could be on the lot, but with only a couple of exclusions. Not the setbacks not being one of those exclusions. Is that what you're looking to do, is change the regulation so that it has to meet the setbacks, which doesn't seem to be an industry standard? Or were you looking for something else about it? I guess I just want to remind everybody that Alexa said it so well earlier, and I'm hoping I can kind of repeat it if she'll step in, but that the regulations can't address, it would be extremely onerous for regulations to address every one-off oddity, so you want to, our goal is to guide you to adopt regulations that are universally effective, but really there might be that one that is like, how'd that happen? But it's an odd shaped lot. It's got topography that's weird. It's got, something else weird about it that you can't possibly foresee unless you actually look at every single lot in town and study all the possibilities. So that is just a reminder of what's the goal. And if the goal is to change that reg, that's great. We'll work on that. We just couldn't wrap our heads about what the goal is. So I'm asking for direction.
Okay, Audra, did you want
Well, I think one of the main reasons why we wanted to readdress this was because what happened on Club Drive and how that house was close to the power lines. It's set on a piece of property that looks like it's in the man next door's front yard. It just doesn't look right in that area. I believe that's what I brought it to our attention, why I wanted to readdress this, because that house just does not look right in that neighborhood at this point. And I don't know what this regulation, how it changed, so it was allowed to get passed. It was allowed to be approved. We needed to approve it. Because it was meeting all the setbacks or not, whatever, it was meeting how we changed this building square. I don't know, Tim?
Well,
I don't think it was, because that one came in with a building square. Okay. And it's built in the building square,
It is, okay.
but it's not over the side yards or anything else, but it's built up against the side yard, which makes it real close. Now, if we wanted to change something in there, okay, we would have to be able to say at this meeting that no, because of because of the houses next door or whatever, that we can't, yes, they're in the building square, but we can't put the house that close to that line, okay? So we have to have the power to say, no, you can't build it here. We really can't tell them they can't use their lot because it meets all the standards. Well, we can say, can't build it here because it's gonna be close to the house, and we want to build down here in the front of the building box, or the back of the building box, there's on the side, the other side of the building box. So, yes. So what happened is that we saw a plan here, and it showed a typical house placement. And we said, okay. Okay, but they went out there, built it. They built it in that box. You know, and what our regulations say should be built in the box. Okay, so what's built in the box? So what do we have there?
You did the whole time.
Okay,
The building
so
It was the interpretation. The building square wasn't changed. The intent and the
The purpose.
the purpose, thank you, of the building square, we tried to clarify is not changed, but so that it was clear how to interpret it, how to apply it. Because the initial application of it, without going back and looking at the history of all those changes, all those clarifications and its initial introduction, was that, oh, you don't have a square, doesn't meet setbacks and be inside your setbacks. So you have your lot, you have your setbacks. And we originally took it from the zoning office standpoint that your square had to be inside those setbacks. But going back in the exercise we did last year and the testimony from, you know, the previous town attorney, as well as listening, you could listen to the tapes, we did a lot, was that that building square could actually be anywhere on the lot. It didn't have to meet the setbacks. It could be anywhere in the big square of the lot,
the house.
square. But the house, the construction of the house itself, the main structure, still has to meet the setbacks. The square could be anywhere because it's not actually a square in which you're allowed to build your house. It's a square that's usable on the lot or with the geography of the lot, the sloping of the lot, whether there's wetlands, whether there's easements, et cetera, on the lot that make it maybe parts of the land you can't use. So the lot itself, and to Tim's point, the house was proposed and it meets the setbacks. It's got the building square exists on the lot, so the lot can exist. And then the house itself has to meet your bulk table of setbacks, height of the house, height, number of stories. So in that zone, residential zone, 2.5 stories, 35 feet, the high house is permitted. I shouldn't say in that zone, and actually in all your zones, the residential zones, and the setbacks for the zone, which we tried to actually get a digital copy of the plot plan and we weren't able to grab it quickly. To show you that it meets the setbacks, that particular one, because I knew that was one of the things that had concerned you.
I don't know.
And again, they built out possibly, well, I know on one side, they built right out to as far as they could build. You know, they met that line, but they didn't go over it.
So like,
So
who put
it's
off the line?
fine.
The problem we've had with squares over the years that I remember is topo. Okay, you had a lot that dropped like this and dropped real thing. Okay, so the placement of the house couldn't have, one of our regulations said you gotta have 30 foot of flat backyard. It couldn't have 30 foot of backyard. So now we put the house over to the side and now it was 30 foot of side yard that we approved. Or 30 foot of front yard we approved. Okay, so that movement was allowed because of topo. And then this particular lot, we brought up the subject of the power lines. Okay, and we wanted to set it further away from the power lines. The placement on that proposal we had it basically in the center of the square. Okay, and now we talked at the meeting about the power lines. So the house got moved over. But what happened is the house got moved over a foot before the line and put it right in front of a house.
Hmm.
And that's when it went. Brought the plant, the building, get the building permit to the building department. Building department looks at it. Yep, it's in the building square. Okay, now they can build it. I don't know how to design the regulations of say they can't put it right up against the line. Because that line there is basically in the side yard.
Yeah.
And, so we need the power of placement of the house in that lot.
So I think, well, the only way to really deal with that would be in those smaller zones to increase the setback so that you have more side yard if that is the issue. And, I mean, personally, I drove by, I looked at it. And I think if you had a smaller home there, I don't think it would have been such an issue. I think the fact is that they built out to like what was allowed is what the issue is, but you follow those power lines, there's plenty of homes that are right underneath those power lines. You look at the setbacks between the homes, they're still the same setbacks.
That was still.
It's just that
right.
the house wasn't built to the character of that neighborhood, because that was an older neighborhood and they had smaller homes back then. And because it wasn't built to the character of when their neighborhood was developed, it kind of backfired. But if they had built something that was actually to the, a little bit smaller and fit the neighborhood better, I don't think there would have been an issue. I mean, we've seen places where we had no issue with this reinterpretation, like on Savage Hill. And I mean, we had another project where this was thing. I don't think we have some, concerns with that property, but it's nothing to do with the building square, more of the way that it's being developed. So I personally don't see an issue with the way the building square is determined. I see it as more as something that we're blaming for a project that we're not exactly pleased with. But I think I think the part that we're not pleased with is that the house didn't fit the neighborhood more than what the building square is. And built due to zoning and, rights of the builder, you're kind of in a tough spot, because how do you crack down on what they exactly build without, stepping over the line on people's, rights,
Yeah.
or doing a zone change entirely.
Footprint that we saw on the plan was like a 900 square foot footprint. Okay, and if it was 2-story, 1,800 square foot home. But the home built up there is probably a 2,700 square foot home. Okay, still within the lot lines, you know?
Okay,
So
I think we could probably keep going about the benefits of it or not, but I mean, is this something that we want to resurrect and revisit under a real true deliberation? Because I know we're just sort of discussing it right now, but I know we have a bigger agenda ahead.
See if we can get
I wish
actually house placement on a lot. Okay,
when it's
So-
compromised
so when
lot
we
or
approve it,
difficult lot.
this is where the house will be placed.
Yeah.
Okay, and not let the builder at the time, okay, here's my box. I can move it this way. I like it this way.
Well,
So that's
maybe
the-
it's when we have challenges
That's
on the
that's a
parcel
challenge, I
Yeah,
think.
so I do think
or
that
characteristics.
my understanding
Yeah.
of zoning, and I would defer to our attorney, who unfortunately had a conflicting meeting and won't be joining.
Not a
either,
problem.
But is that the personal property right of a single family, the single and 2-family zones is the owner to place the house as long as they meet the rules. So saying you have to build a house of a certain style, design, size, etc. Those are the kinds of things that homeowners associations in designed neighborhoods usually restrict, or the subdivision restrictions itself that a developer might propose if he's gonna put those restrictions on a neighborhood when he divides up that land as a whole. As an individual lots in that are, that are placed in existing neighborhoods where that doesn't exist for any other lot in the neighborhood, I'm not sure that there's the authority to do it. We can have that discussion again with our attorney
Yeah,
and try to, suss that out as to whether that's something that can be regulated. I haven't seen that in regulations for single family lots. You do have site specific regulations for rear lots. And you have a minimum house size that has to be shown on the plan. So I think the plan must have shown
Shown the
for that particular lot, must have shown the house. Do you remember what that lot size, what the house size that has to be shown on the plan is? We looked at,
No.
it was like 2 weeks ago.
that's okay.
When we found it in the reg, or when we were discussing it in the regulations. So our subdivision regulations say it has to show that you can fit a house of a certain size, of certain footprint to show that the house, you're not getting a 10-foot wide house. Oh, yeah, we have a buildable area that's 10 feet wide, and so you have a hallway for a house. It has to be like 20 by 30, I want to say. Again, I'd have to look at the subdivision regulations and can't pull them up right now.
I'm not suggesting that we micromanage a neighborhood, but I think we need a tool in our toolbox that would help us. So if you do get somebody who has a compromised lot and is looking to develop it, you don't want to stop them from developing it, but you want to have a little bit of input on where the house can be placed. And this would only be with lots, like I said, that have characteristics or topography or, perhaps, whatever, that we might have a little bit more say on the final placement. And of course, that would have to be something that we agree to with the developer. I mean, they would have to say, yes, on lot number 21, I will specifically place the house here because of these other characteristics of the land or whatever. Or elements.
Subdivisions, and the builder says, well, only building houses can't be big, smaller than 2,200 square foot.
And that's
and a
fine.
different Style house, that's the builder saying.
Yeah, but that's
Okay,
it. But what
but
I'm
the thing-
saying,
One single lot like this.
but
is
one
the problem.
yeah, but one single lot that might be a difficult lot to develop, you don't want to stop them from putting their homestead up there, but you want to have some input as to best place the home.
Last meeting, I asked for design and review.
Uh,
I don't think,
yeah.
I don't know if we can do that.
It could be, I don't know, but we should have some sort of tool, John.
Well, don't we already have that say? I mean, if it's simply a matter of the developer agreeing to our suggestion, I mean, we already have that authority. We can
Mhm.
simply, I mean, if the building square, if the definition of building square is beyond simply, well, in other words, that it gives breathing room for the developer to put the improvements where they want, we could always ask them, just please, we have these concerns. I mean, if it's simply a matter of consent, I mean, we always have that input. I don't know, Maureen, if your concern is that perhaps legally we can't
Sometimes doesn't
restrict
work with
somebody
certain-
from
with
developing their
developers.
land to that point where we say, you know what I mean, like that. You're,
Doesn't meet the, I mean, if it.
in other
meets the
words,
Regulation, when they come in for their building permit, they're like, it meets the regulation.
so I'm just wondering if there's a way.
What you have the authority to regulate versus the authority to agree on with a developer.
And,
when
you
they
know,
come in.
Yeah, and what Chairwoman Beely said makes a lot of sense to me in the sense that if we could always ask them, look, we have these concerns, and if it's simply a matter of that and taking these developments one at a time, because you can never practically regulate this anyway, that may be the only solution. I'm trying to think of a way to.
Yeah, and we may not resolve this
I think-
tonight,
It may not,
so.
Good idea, what you just,
it's her
you
idea.
just hit the thing on the nose, is that we always ask for this from the developer, the windows and the landscaping and all
Well,
this other
it's-
stuff, okay? We always ask that stuff. But we could say, can we place the house here? And if they agree, okay, this is where my thing I've been saying for all the plans now is that agreement it's typed out and put in and filed with the plan,
Absolutely.
okay? And that's what my thing was about filing it with the plan now, okay? And our downfall on that is saying, we always come up with everything here, the commission does a great job designing things and everything else get done. And then they go out and build whatever they want. Okay? So that's what is so important to me, that they get put on that plan. And that our building department or whoever approves those plans looks at that last page and says, oh, the commission says it only could do this, the commission says this, right? And that's the thing, because it's part of the plan and filed with the town clerk, right? So I think we can, by asking, like you just said, we can regulate it a little bit on our own when the builder says, okay.
Okay.
Well, and to staff's point, I mean, there's so many different problems that arise, topography concerns, yard requirements, all of a sudden you have a cliff in the backyard and, requires a little bit of creative thinking of to where to put the house. I just think that you have to take these one at a time.
Yeah, all right, well, I guess that's what we'll have to, do we want to look at the building? Do we want to revisit the building square? I guess that's the
Yeah.
big question. Let's
I
revisit.
don't know if it
Let's
No.
just resurrect well,
our last thing was building square with a placement of a house in the building square, and we came up with that. It doesn't have to be in a building square like the one on Kensington Road and
yeah, but
First
that's,
Road. We moved it and the house stuck out on the side yard a little bit, okay? So that's the building square thing that we just adopted. Saying, can the topography, whatever, we could get it on that lot, whatever out, then it's gotta be a little bit outside that building square.
all right, so let's
Think
look
it
at the
is.
latest. I'll tell you what, let's look at the latest text regarding that building square and let's see if we can go from there.
Okay. You want
Okay.
me to distribute that? We'll distribute it. before
Yeah,
the
just,
next meeting.
yes, exactly. This way we can revisit it because we do want to get on with
I'll
the,
probably do it with the staff report. I'll try to
Yeah.
add things to it to kind of give a.
and we'll
reminder
we'll take a look and see if there's
what that
something,
came up
yeah,
with.
and
Maybe
then we'll,
see if the minutes are
you don't even,
detailed enough.
you don't even have to do that. Let's just look at, don't make the extra workload on yourself. Let's just look at the bare raw text the way we had it the last time, okay?
Okay.
All right, so that's that item.
Thank you.
No problem.
The feedback and, like I said, direction.
Yep, okay. Oh, exactly. Next item is the site plan amendment of Arnold Gans for modifications to approved reconstruction and additions at 1427 Berlin Turnpike, which is the property of MC Barber Shop LLC in the BT1 zone. Okay, and do we have the site? Yes.
So he contacted our office today and stated that they are working on updated plans and would not attend the meeting tonight.
Okay,
They didn't specifically, ask that, the extension, an extension and it be continued, but that's what he asked, was that
that's
it be
fine.
continued to the next meeting. So the next meeting, you do have extension time. He does have extension time in the application, so as I stated earlier, although I have another thing to discuss later in the meeting with regard to the next meeting. The next meeting is substantially dedicated to the text amendments that FHI has put together. That was the intent of that public hearing and that meeting, maybe with some small items on it. I think even if we get new plans from him tomorrow or early next week, by the time we route the new
Yeah.
plans and what, it may be best to postpone this to March 20th, but you can postpone it till next meeting if you'd like, and then postpone it again if necessary.
No,
Again, it's whether you want it on that meeting with the public hearing or not.
maybe we should put it back to the March 20th. What's the consensus of the commission? Let's just, yeah, let's skip and, yeah,
I'll make the motion to continue this to the March 20th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to
second.
continue. I have a second by Ms. Jorsy. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye, those opposed, so moved. Okay. Going on, site plan amendment of John Gomez, Car Guys Automotive for proposed additional parking at 658 Berlin Turnpike. Now, this is the property of Sistaltina Viveros in the B1, BT1 zone. I hope, I'm sorry if I misnamed that.
And I just,
Yes,
one announcement,
yes,
that may be helpful to anyone in the audience.
okay,
And I'm sorry, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the public hearing, both on this and the MC Barber application. But the public hearing that's supposed to be moving forward on Kokomo Brothers for the lot line subdivision, for the 5-lot subdivision on Wilkes Pond Road and
Mhm.
Somerset Drive. He has also asked that it be continued. We did get some feedback from Deep that was distributed, we got it was sent late last night or late yesterday. So they're processing that information and they would like
okay,
that to be continued. And I just thought this next item does have a presentation, so announcing that early on might help somebody in the audience. You'll of course have to continue it when you get to it, but
okay.
um,
But
if you
that,
don't mind. then-
so basically there will be no public hearing on the Kokomo project off of Wilkes Pond
Right.
Road in Somerset. So if you're here for that, you don't need to be. All right, because we won't be taking it up. All right, but we are going to talk to the Car Guys Automotive. Is that you, sir? Okay, so just come up. Yeah, both of you. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's fine. Just up to the podium so we can talk to both of you. Please state your name and address for the record, please. And use the microphone as best you can, only so our recording will be clear and anyone in Zoom land can hear. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. My name
Thank
is Giovanni Gomez. I'm the co-owner of Car Guys Automotive LLC. This is my son, John Gomez. He's the other owner.
Mhm.
And we're here today to request an amendment to our site plan. to
Okay,
add additional parking spaces.
all right.
We've met with the planning and zoning folks, had the surveyor come out and redo our site plan and submitted it uh, and follow all the recommendations as we're told.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we'll just take a look at that site plan. Or give us a second to unravel it. Very much. We care to share. All righty. Okay, so we're looking at the plan, and what would you like to tell us about it? I mean, you want to just give us an overview?
I'll try and do my best. We initially were approved for I think it was 4 spots for sale and I think 9 additional spots. We do repairs and sales. It turns out that we're doing a lot more sales than repair. So we were requesting if we can add another, I think it's an additional 9 spots. I'm trying to count them all.
Okay, now this parcel is Woodlawn and the Berlin Turnpike.
Yes,
So this is, okay,
the old mannequin shop there
okay, so it's right there.
right on the corner of Berlin Turnpike and Woodland.
All right, okay, so we had to, in our minds, we have to sort of draw it up to see where you are. Okay. Now, do you currently have parking in the back of the building, down facing Tasca Ford or whatever?
Yes, ma'am.
You already have those existing? So when you're talking about adding the parking, where are we adding it to?
Well, when we met with the planning and zoning folks, we were informed that in front of our garages, we have three garage bays that for our business. On the other side of the lot, there's another additional parking spot for a tint business called Sun Glory. They're on the opposite side of us. In front of our bays, we had a 24-foot space. And we are under the understanding that you only need 12 and a half or 12 feet for a pass-through to go around our shop. So that was a two-way. And we changed that to a one-way with the survey fella. And that'll allow us an additional row where we can park some more cars for sale purposes.
So the additional row for the parking, will that be on the south side of the building? I mean, the south side, so going,
Yes, where the bays are, where our bays are.
are these the bays here?
Yeah, I think
Bringing it up on
And,
the screen.
okay, and the bays are facing the Berlin Turnpike.
No,
The-
the bays are on the
The
side.
bays are facing the next, the abutting property.
Okay,
Right.
so they are on the south side of the building,
Yes.
basically. Okay, so the
there's-
bays are here.
One or two bays on the north side, on the west side of the building too, that's part of the tint place, right?
One.
One.
So they get the
So
three spots for
So
that.
there's a total of 4 bays.
Yes.
3 for us, 1 for them.
So are you repaving and adding, more parking lot, or you just, pretty much, repainting the,
Realigning.
yeah,
Right, there's already a paved area, but there's also a buffer zone
Mhm.
where we are going to convert that into a lumen seed area.
Okay,
50-foot.
That was one of the other questions that,
Right, and we were told that in order to be in compliance, we have to do that. And then we would still have plenty of paved part where we could park our cars. On the south side.
okay, so that's all gonna be loom. That's all gonna be
that's gonna be great.
This is a new line part.
Here.
Yeah, so you're pretty much
That's
just,
where-
Reconfiguration of the parking along this
Yes.
side
Yeah.
of the lot. These exist along the back. Those exist.
Yep.
The ones over here exist. And then these exist as parking, but are not aligned in this way. There's no tandem, which, is sometimes what they want for inventory. And then they have these perpendicular spaces that they've added next to the tandem spaces. If I can give a little background, the previous tenant encroached over here into what is a buffer from the residential zone next door. There's a 50-foot buffer that has to be there. They encroached, they enclosed it with a fence. The gentleman, when they came in for their location approval, which was required at the time that they opened last year, had to, found that they couldn't use that for parking. It's not allowed. It wasn't on the previously approved site plan. It couldn't be done. There's also drainage that is basically just gravel through here that the town engineer looked at as well. And that had all been kind of ignored and enclosed, and they had stored vehicles in there and whatnot, the previous owner. These guys were told they couldn't. Were also advised that the best course of action, they agreed, or whose suggestion it was, theirs or ours, to remove the fencing, that just so that, so it didn't appear as a storage area, because like they said, when they looked at it to purchase it, they saw this enclosed area with a surface that was parkable, and there was no grass, and they were like, oh, that's great. We have this much usable land, not even thinking to come to see that it was a violation. So they've agreed to restore that to seed and loam. And then there'll be a fence there too, right? You're putting,
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a fence there.
right, they're putting it back up.
The
They're
part that-
Well, we took the enclosure down because we
Right.
realized that
a
what was there
fence.
before us did that and it was not legal. So we
Right.
took it, they had signs saying, I don't know, storage, I don't know what they were doing there.
It
Well,
appeared that it was usable. when we rented it. It was fenced in.
Right.
There was signage saying, beware, do not park in this area. And it was all blacktopped.
Right.
And then we found out after that we can't use this space that we thought we had.
Yeah, we
So
didn't.
thanks for doing a
Yeah,
great
we
job.
didn't- we
helping
didn't
us
do our due
explain that.
diligence, and then when we got it from the landlord, we were under the assumption.
Well, we didn't get it from the landlord.
You know,
We got it from the town.
the town brought it to our attention, so we
The
immediately.
landlord,
removed it.
he didn't share that information.
Yeah, well, that's what.
Because he wanted it rented, which would have been nice.
Yeah.
Now I'm in a
Right.
5-year lease.
Right.
And I'm
Now-
finding out,
yeah,
wait a
so Now
minute,
we're in a 5-year lease,
can't
but
use this now.
luckily, anyway, the planning and zoning folks steered us in the right direction, so we took the fence down, and we're gonna put grass there, and we're gonna honor that 50-foot buffer. The gentleman who's on that side of us, he's fantastic. He walks his dogs through our shop all the time. He's a really nice guy. And we just want to be able to conduct our business properly and make sure everybody's happy and we're okay and we can earn a living and so forth.
Questions, Commission? Concerns, yeah.
One,
Oh, and then June. Yeah, June's next.
that does abut that residential property, which is basically, I guess, the extension of Worthington Bridge.
Yeah, it's, I
Dead
think
ends,
it's the last
dead ends,
house on
dead end there,
Worthington Ridge on that side of
Right.
the highway.
There's a chain link fence there between the commercial, they got, supposed to be grass there, but then
That's what he's
there's
doing.
a chain link fence, okay? I'll at least button the residential probably should be a stockade fence or some kind of solid fence, button a residential. Instead of a chain link fence.
Well, I thought the chain link was coming down,
No,
No,
so there was
the secondary one
there's
There was
there's
another
a
one
chain link
here.
fence that separates the property.
from the buffer.
From the
area.
buffer.
But on the buffer area itself, when we rented it, there was a chain fence
Additional
enclosure,
fence.
which
Okay.
we removed that
All the way
portion of
around
it, but there is still a chain link fence
Oh.
separating the property from us still. That still stays.
That
there.
chain link right there, yeah. That one, a button, a residential. You know, because it's commercial, I think probably
So-
should have a.
So silly question, who owns that seated loamed area that you just are gonna be seating and everything else? Who owns that?
Our understanding that is part of the property from Mrs. Desveria.
This property owns
That,
all the way to this line. This is the property line. That then has a 50-foot buffer because residential is next door. So no builds, no.
okay, so technically you would own that
They,
all the way to the property line. Okay,
I'm looking at the old plan to see, right now I'm pulling up the, what year was it? A 2002 approval. To see if the fence
does
was there.
the residential, owner, Willis, I guess, does he have a fence along his property line?
I did see another fence.
And
Yeah.
there's a lower
So
fence.
there's a little lower fence on his property line, and then maybe, a couple feet, I don't know.
What kind of fence does he have?
It's a chain link fence.
So he has a shorter, maybe a 4-foot?
Yeah, he has a 4-foot fence, and then the fence that abuts our property line, it's like 6 foot. It's no taller than that. Maybe
Wow.
An 8-foot fence is pretty high. So there actually are 2 fences, and then there was, in addition, there was that enclosure on that page that we took down.
You can go ahead, commercial, so.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is that, are we looking for them just to continue the fence along the property line to mimic what the property owner already has?
So the existing chain link fence line.
This is so
Has been there
confusing. It
since,
shouldn't be.
was shown as an existing fence line in 2002,
Could you
the
bring
last
some,
approval.
satellite or street images?
That's what we're working on.
All right, and June, you had a quick question? I think you had did you
So
have your
it's
hand up
paid
with a
total
question?
attention.
And then I'll see if you guys have questions. Because I know John's just burning with questions.
So Ms. Feely, on their buffer zone that abuts to the house, they have at the business an 8-foot fence.
Yes.
So we wouldn't need to match the neighbor's fence because there's one already there creating that buffer.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if the neighbor's fence is, example, 4 feet high, and now you get to the road and it's an 8-foot high, are we looking for him just to match or continue that fence that the neighbor has?
Probably the 8 foot didn't get approved. It's it's not allowed 8 foot, 6 foot's normal.
It may be.
Yeah, we have no idea if the neighbor had gotten a variance.
Okay,
or-
so here we're gonna see.
But-
All right, so here we're gonna see what's going on. Is there any way to move down and zoom in to where,
It could for a,
to
for
where-
a commercial property, you could
so
have.
I
it
can
at
see
8
what
foot
they
high.
did? All right, so you have this nice little tree line buffer there. Is that still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's nice. All right, so we're going further down the turnpike.
Are you gonna be keeping that tree buffer?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, well, that's nice. All right, so this is the grassed area here?
Mhm.
No,
That's the neighbor's lot.
this is
right?
the neighbor's?
Now we're to the neighbor's lot. The
Yeah.
tree
So-
line is along your property
That
line.
is-
All right. So is the tree line,
Those cars are.
Oh, so are the cars, those are within the 50 feet and you're looking to really reposition them because they're in the
Yeah.
setback.
Those cars right there are the cars that are in the,
well, I was just trying to figure out where this fence is
Okay.
or where this,
It's tough to see because it's right up on
The
that tree
fence is
line.
right along the tree line.
Right along the tree line.
So you're gonna pull up some of that pavement and just restripe what you have existing so that you can try and keep some of your sales of cars while trying to be coming to conformity.
Yes,
Yeah, he said he went from a 2-lane passing to a 1-lane to create that second row of parking, which I thought was creative.
oh, okay, so now I see,
you see where it had been completely enclosed for that storage area that's in the buffer. So that.
that's the
that
buffer
fenced
area there.
area Is the buffer. And he's
Ah.
taking down the fence to the front.
Okay, so he's taking down the fence, those cars are gonna go away and he's gonna loam and seed it. And then he already has his, to the right, there's the other fence, which is gonna stay.
Yeah.
All right, so, all right, well,
This is a more
I'm-
recent picture. That one is.
and
the-
this is nice
Yeah.
because you sort of just have the natural tree line, which is also your boundary line.
yes.
All right. And so you need from us permission to go ahead and do this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
So the
Options.
biggest
Is that to-
changes on the site plan are.
That seems clear cut.
That he's adding parking along, as shown before with the stacked parking, so the commission has to determine that that's okay for inventory parking to be in that configuration. And there was on this original plan of this level spreader gravel that they, with discussions with our town engineer, and they were provided in the staff report, is that the commission making a determination whether the drainage, as, if describing the drainage is satisfactory to the commission with the restoration of the grassed area that will create natural drainage there. He suggested, our town engineer is suggesting that the curb that's shown on his proposed plan be removed along there so that the surface drainage does naturally flow into that whole area. And then the level spreader may or may not be required, because it's really going into that grassed area as a whole. The topography does go down towards the property in the back, but that's the natural flow of the drainage as well.
You'll be able to work with our engineer to deal with all drainage issues?
Sure.
And the only other thing that I would say is that if you are gonna be stacking the cars and they're gonna be for sale, maybe the front, because you have this nice little green area here. Maybe before the cars, you can do some landscaping or whatever, maybe some shrubs or, a winterberry with a little bit, just. Well, yeah, but I mean, if it's not gonna be naturally on the Berlin Turnpike. but where you have your cars stacked to sort of, maybe you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to disguise them. Yeah, you don't want to disguise them because you want customers to come in, but you don't want them to look like, lack of a better term, a junkyard. Yeah, like, just like, you want, you want it to be nice. So people say, hey, whoa, what's going on over there?
Maureen,
Okay.
do you have any other concerns or comments?
Just those in the staff report, that we need the calculation for the auto use license area to make sure that all the additional parking is allowed. That calculation needs to be provided. They had done
Done it,
they
Andre.
had to do a number of revisions and that was one that they wasn't able to be completed before the hearing. So if it's that to be the satisfaction of the CEO, that's what would be fine with us if it's fine with you. As you said, the drainage to this, work with the engineer to make sure that that's not going to negatively impact the abutting property owners. And then I had a comment with regard to who parks where on the lot to show that inventory lot, something that says for customer parking where they do have their more traditional spaces and the front row of stacked spaces so that customers don't end up blocked in by those stacked spaces if they end up stacked. So some kind of signage. And you discussed the landscaping.
Yeah.
So.
Andrew,
Thank
do you
you.
have any questions or John? You have any questions? Steve, well, Steve Biella is online. But I didn't know if he wanted to chime in. Nope, I don't think he has any questions either.
Well,
Yeah,
I
No
always
question.
appreciate somebody coming in to us to come into compliance instead of us having to come to you, so I'm gonna make the motion to approve with staff and town comments.
okay, we have a motion. Oh, Tim, do we have a second for discussion?
Yeah, first discussion.
Second for discussion. Okay, now you had another question.
The property where those cars are parked right now, there are 5 cars. If you get the picture with the fence in it. In front of that fence is tarred area. Okay, and it's right here, paved area. That is off their property. That is on state property.
I thought that's getting torn up.
No. This proposal is leaving this property, this paved area, which they're looking to park the cars like that for display area. These cars back here, maybe a couple more, but paved area on state property, it's all the way down the line. It's the whole property, if we see that, there's using state property. Okay. Don't know if they got state permission years ago, or they didn't get state permission or what. But we can't make any proof, okay for parking on state property. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, but my understanding was you were moving those cars.
The ones that are in the front there,
Yes,
those right there?
yes,
Oh, so that's state property,
yeah,
That's state property.
the ones back from the grass?
the ones on the
Behind
grass are,
The edge of the grass there is state property. You can see between your property line going all the way down and the grass is paved area. That is state property.
So we'd have to just move them back.
You gotta move them back off state property and probably, I don't know if you gotta take that paved area out.
So my understanding is that their site plan that they're proposing does not call this parking area. It's not, they're not, there's no approval requested for parking here or out here.
Okay.
And therefore it would be a violation like all the other, any other used cars we find that are parked within state land, that they're not following their limit of the number of cars they can have on the site, and the cars have to be on the site. If they get permission from the state to use the state's property for the business use, clearly you have
Yeah.
it all along historic use for driveways and like this traffic flow. But again, that's not part, there actually was an old plan that showed parking here that was like, that wasn't allowed, it was one
See,
that we saw as we were doing research. So this, in my opinion, from the zoning standpoint, wouldn't be allowed as parking. However, they're removing the pavement, doing construction in that area, reseeding would require the state to give an encroachment permit for whatever work they're doing. So it's not really something the commission, you can recommend it
Can't do nothing.
to but that is state
All right,
land. So
yeah, so you're-
state has to authorize any change
I just
in
wanna
that
point out to
area.
the applicant that that's state property, okay? It's not property with this building, and yeah, we can't pay you to park on that,
Right.
okay?
Parking on it
I-
would be a
I was
violation in
the app-
my
I
opinion.
was the applicant, I would go to the state and say, can I use your property? And get that.
Good luck.
that cleaned up. Yeah, which
Yeah,
that,
you're right.
that's a couple year
Thank you.
process. That's a couple, at least a couple years, at least a
Well,
couple years.
but
process.
can we just simply move them off of that lawn? Because.
Yeah.
Hey, there,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
there's enough room for that, we can move them. Realign them and take them off the lawn.
yeah,
Keep on your property and that's.
that's all he's saying, really. I know it's gone around the bush, but that's basically what he's saying. Well, yeah,
I don't want
Yeah.
you to get in trouble with the state.
in 10 years from now, the state will say.
You just got in trouble with the pavement, residential, and now you don't want another problem with the state.
No.
So-
Okay,
I just point
all right,
out
I
that
think,
that's-
I think we,
Stayed for 30 years, I don't want.
Okay.
You know.
oh, there you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult your employer.
No.
Now, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other further discussion? Then all those in favor? Those opposed? So moved, okay.
Thank you very much.
You're all right.
Thank you.
You're good.
Yo, no problem. It's funny. Okay, we have a special event application of Lauren Pedersen, the Wellness Collective, for a multi-business tag sale at 314 New Britain Road, property of the New Britain Road Realty LLC in the CCD1 zone. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Oh, hey. All right. Sorry. I looked up, she was gone. She's like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here." Okay, I know. It's killing you. You know the drill, that's right. Okay, so what do we have?
So if I can just give you a little bit of an idea of what our business is.
Please.
first, Right, so the Wellness Collective is a space that is one of 3 separate suites on that property, 314. So there's the Valiant Martial Arts, there's the dry cleaner, Kensington Dry Cleaner, and then there's the Wellness Collective. And the Wellness Collective is a space where we offer therapy, psychotherapy, and body work and energy work. And there are 10 offices inside of the space, and each office is housed by a person like myself who is a therapist. And we have our clientele that we work with. And so what we are asking for permission for is one of potentially quarterly tag sales that are buy-in for the folks who sublease that space from me and the clientele that we work with. So when I say it's a multi-business tag sale, it's businesses that live in that unit.
Okay.
We are each our own LLC.
Will this be like an indoor event? Yep. So, but it won't be a flea market.
No,
Okay. So I'm just trying to paint a picture to see where, so you want a permit to do this 4 times a year,
right.
if you can. Now, is the special event, is it for services?
So it is for It's an opportunity. So part of our philosophy is in building community within the context of the Wellness Collective and the folks that we serve. And we also very much value collaboration and mutual aid. And we wanted to create an opportunity for those of us who have things like in our homes that perhaps other folks within the Wellness Collective community might need, like a space for us to bring that in, for people to come and say, oh, I actually need baby clothes for my baby and you have baby clothes. Can we trade something? Or let me give you $5 for that.
Okay, so it's almost, I'm just trying to grasp what you're doing. So it's like a tag, it's basically a tag sale.
Essentially a tag sale, yeah.
Okay,
And, you know, items that we are, you know, I'm planning on bringing, we just cleared off our bookshelves at home, right? So a
Mhm.
bunch of books that would otherwise be going to savers.
yeah,
I would like to give preference to the people who I know to look through them and
Yeah.
say, I would like that book, or I would like those shoes that you're not wearing anymore.
oh, okay, so it's basically, okay, so it's very much in line with the tag sale.
Are you gonna have vendors or are you just selling stuff to yourself?
No external vendors, no, just ourselves,
So you and the other businesses that occupy the
space,
space?
And it'll all be inside,
right?
and you have ample parking, or I
Yeah,
think
there's a
I
good amount
remember
of,
where your building is, so.
yeah, there's,
Oh,
right,
yeah,
so
there is.
there's all of that parking out in the front, and then in the rear of the building, that's where the staff parks, in the rear, so that the front is utilized for business parking.
Yeah, okay. All
And
right,
you see my next application in June, we might want to expand and do some stuff out in the back parking lot, but it would be essentially the same, right? But just bringing the tables out into the back, that's not it.
and what would the hours be for your tag sale?
1 PM to 7 PM.
And is that on a Saturday only, or would it be?
Wednesday,
It would, oh, so you would run it on a
on
Wednesday?
a weekday, right?
Okay,
How are you gonna advertise this?
Word of mouth,
Okay.
quarterly.
anyone questions?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I know, as long as it's inside. I
Mm.
mean, then I don't have to worry about having police out there directing, or
Yeah.
a mob scene forming, or.
No, I don't anticipate any more traffic than what we already get, right?
Yeah,
Because,
so
you know, internally, we've sort of notified folks who practice there and asked them to either consider going remote for that day to do their work or to just take the day off and join us.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Maureen, anything from the planning? Yeah,
Has been working on this one,
Yeah.
so.
nothing, no,
It was
mean, I-
routed to the other departments. And just said something.
I mean, it seems pretty cut forward because it's inside.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're gonna do your own advertising, so it'll be people that are utilizing the businesses now that would be made aware of, so they
Right.
maybe bring friends in or whatever.
Right.
The hours are they're limited. It's not on a weekend. It's Monday. It's gonna be on a Wednesday. It's 1 to 7. I don't know, Commission, what do you think?
So the only question I have is, after approval, future events, would be approved by staff, similar to other events that we
I lost.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a
I
motion to,
appreciate that. Again, she did mention that the up event may include outside tables. And would you want to receive that, or would you
Mhm.
like us to? just
Gonna be
do it
part of my motion.
internally? Okay.
Yeah, you have to wait for her to surprise you.
Okay, gladly.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to approve, and that, staff will be able to, allow the event in the future
Right.
as long as there are no changes.
Okay.
Changes, like you're describing for future outdoor events, we'll want to see what that plan is.
Okay.
Um, but that's my motion.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All righty, Mr. Rogan. Further discussion? There's no food or anything at this event, right? Or
So
refreshments?
the food is, the plan is to get like prepackaged snacks from Costco.
Okay, all right, okay. That was my only last thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the motion, the second, so let's move the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Okay. All right, yeah, I know. She was sweating. She was in the thing going, are we ever gonna get up there? Okay, so public hearings is
So-
continued, what?
Mr. and Mr. Gomez, we're all set. You don't have to.
You're all
wait for
set.
us.
Oh, I thought maybe he wanted to see what's going on with the tag sale. That's why. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Okay, that's good. All right, so moving on to planners' comments.
Well,
Thank
so do we have to continue Kokomo, right?
All right, so motion to continue the Kokomo.
I'll make. the
Motion to continue.
All right, I miss Jorsey.
So let's just say the public hearing item that was to be heard this evening, the applicant has asked to be continued due to some new information received from the state. So,
No,
To
okay.
what date? Do we need? to-
March 20th.
um,
No, what?
actually,
Or
let's see, wait a minute, I wrote this down.
I thought I had it down here too. No, March 20th is the mixer one.
I messed up my page numbers. Hold on one second.
Because he's not gonna re-ready
There's
this
a
next
meeting
one.
before March 20th.
So
It's March-
he only has enough extension days to go to March 6th.
All right, well,
Okay,
then he's gonna
so-
cough them up.
So he has granted the extension to March 6th.
All right,
You
but
know,
he's
he
gonna,
did one of the previous meetings, he said we can use extension times through this process as necessary. So that was previously done. However, only 25 extension days remain after today, which doesn't get us 2 meetings out. It only gets you 1
Mhm.
out,
Well,
or
I-
if there's a special meeting.
yeah, I just don't want to put the commission in a position where we are over a barrel, where we are continuing and continuing, continuing, and then comes the due date. And we're out of extension, so I just want to bring that at everyone's, yeah, okay. So the due date's the 6th, but as long as we all know. All right,
So I'll move to continue to March 6th.
all right, we have the motion to continue by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second to Mr. Rogan for the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. All right, then on to the deliberations. Yes.
Ask Maureen, did the state ever get back to their decision on?
So we got some more information. We got a response from them. They sent it late yesterday, picked up, in emails this morning, that, talks about the process. And one of them is there is, the additional information they'll need. We sent a bunch of information, but the additional information they'd need in order to make a determination and evaluation. So, because there are multiple parties in the ownership of the contract for the applicant to come in, he had to discuss that with the rest of the parties involved. He couldn't just make a decision.
But also
as
it's
to
our
whether-
decision too.
He withdraws or modifies the plan, or, how they can proceed. There wasn't enough time for them to discuss that.
So in other words, he's talking with the property owners in the town of Berlin.
Yeah, but
The property owners really, given the information we gave.
But we still have the
today from
final
the
say.
state. And again, it's not about. The state allows a transfer of property, that they can allow it, but the town doesn't have to approve it.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
to answer your point, and yeah, it's still a town decision whether the property gets transferred. It's very, transparency, and again, because you're continuing it, I don't really want to discuss the nuances of it, because you're not hearing about it tonight, but he had some concepts for possible alternate plans, and text amendments that might be required in order to do that he had been prepared to come talk to you about, but decided he shouldn't until he brings the information from the state to the rest of the property owners.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
I just, the applicant knows that 16 days, whatever it is.
the hearing has to be, that's the date to close the hearing.
14 days, okay? The hearing's gotta close and the decision's gotta be made.
The decision has to be made within
Within
65 days after the closing of the hearing, yes.
And if the state doesn't approve this stuff or indicate they're going to approve it, we can't approve it until, because it's a proposal to us with that transfer. And so without the transfer or indication that the state's going to transfer it or allow it,
Or us,
we
don't have to allow.
how do we approve it? That's my question is, how do we approve it? If in 14 days, the state don't say, yeah, you can do it, you bring it to the town, you get their approval. Okay. If
Just
we're
deny.
approve it, we have to pay attention to that. Or get a different plan. And which I guess he was suggesting.
At that point, I think, our advice to the applicant from the staff standpoint, if a modified plan was going to be coming in, would be withdrawn and start the time clock again, because we have to analyze that plan and have time for review. Again, perhaps if we'd had an update a week ago, even earlier in the week, where they could discuss it with the various parties, but he does have the, it is the applicant's right to have the extension time. So we've heard from our attorney in the past that if they ask for the extension, it's in the commission's best interest to allow the extension and then, make the, perhaps inevitable decision at the time it has to be made instead of preemptively.
The applicant, I asked.
I'm trying to get through this
I
agenda
asked
for
the
you guys.
applicant,
I really
I
am.
asked the applicant to come in with a
8:35.
bubble off of Somerset,
I'm smelling the end.
to tell us what we can do, because that will probably not need that exchange of property. Okay,
Again, we've had several staff discussions with the applicant on scenarios and histories of the property.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We don't, so all those in favor, aye, we're gonna continue, right? Yeah, all right, fine. All right, then on to planners' comments. We have CT Bar, Connecticut Bar Association training. Oh, now they want to make a lawyer out of me. Registration is due by February 28th.
So that is that worksheet or the spreadsheet that I asked you all to fill out so that we can register those people that want to be registered. We can have it.
Oh, okay.
because, lots of meetings, I take a note, I give them to Ashley, we're trying to once and for all, because we do have to request those funds to register those of you that want to go. If you didn't commit tonight and you want to change your mind, let us know in a day or two, or if you're not
Is-
here.
What are the actual dates of these events? It says registration dates here, but
So the 2025 Connecticut Bar Land Use Law Seminar, the all day is Saturday, March 22nd, and it's virtual meeting. The Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies annual conference, which is the dinner at
AquaTurf,
AquaTurf, is Thursday, March 27th.
how many points do we get for that?
Check-in is about 5 o'clock, and I think one.
Well,
So I got, one question, because you got us all excited last time. How's it going with the, laptops or the iPads?
Yeah, I know.
So he was still updating that, like,
Okay.
what do you call them, setting them up.
He's trying to set him up with the emails, but he's been doing that for a while, so.
Well, he has a whole lot of different things he's working on right now that are,
Okay.
and yeah, I think there's just.
Downward software and stuff.
I believe so, yeah.
And Diane does have a question, so. Go ahead, Diane.
Not a question, a comment.
Comment.
The lady that used to have the sheds for sale on the turnpike
Yes.
has a section of fence with a sign advertising a tree company.
So advertising is on the
What was
fence.
her name? Virtual, it was V something.
Yeah, I know. I used to be on the tip of my tongue because I talked to her like every month for a while there. Okay,
So the sign just kind of
Appeared.
is not permitted.
Was a full.
Okay, now we can move on. Do we have to do executive session tonight?
Hold on one more second.
Oh,
Yes,
Did he get here?
he's there.
Walk in?
oh, he's here. Yeah, but I would like to
Called him.
I would like to go through a meeting without an executive session, if you please. Yeah.
These are out of order.
Do you have this place bugged? You knew when we were getting closer to the end. Ooh.
So the other thing I have is that there are other options for training that I just wanted to let everybody know about, and one that's coming up in April 26th from 9 to 1. And it's a basic training for new commissioners. It's in Haddam by Yukon Clear, their offices. And $45 for 9 to 1 with breakfast. Again, the town would pay for it, for the training.
Did you have to go?
None of you, yeah, it is an in-person one.
Ooh, forget it.
I think the most obvious attendee, if he doesn't attend one of the others, might be that Michael Pashek is interested in, he's the newest commissioner. I think everybody else at least has some of the basic training, so, that may or may not be of interest, but that's another site we watch regularly or get updates that training might happen through Yukon Clear. There's others in other towns, these two options aren't the end alls, but it is a requirement to get the training done if you haven't done it already. It came to at the department head meeting we had the other day. We were apprised that with the country's 250th celebration next year, the town will be trying to organize events and committees and everything else. So for the good of the order, I'm letting those residents who dedicate their time and energy and have information and knowledge and who may even remember either from past celebrations. So there were a couple of people at the meeting that said last time.
I,
Everything. but,
350 years ago, I was born.
how to contribute.
I'm on the social security roll.
My suggestion is to contact right now, the main contacts would probably be the town manager's office, Christie, or Kate in the town.
Or
clerk's
Charles
office,
Calarisi,
to
because
then
he's
tell you
on the cemetery.
who else
commission.
to talk to if you're interested. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And then there's one other item that we might, we're going to be asked to put onto the agenda. I don't have much information about it right now because I had a meeting with regard to it today, but BT 2008 LLC, the Diadios project on the turnpike just south of Deming Road, he's going to start asking for COs for some of the residential buildings. And he wants to, and I've advised him that, I'd like the commission to look at the phasing of those COs. He was only allowed by OSTA, the state, to start with 3 buildings. And I want the commission to look at what he's proposing to have done for the first building and then the subsequent buildings on the property. So he's going to prepare something with his engineers to bring back as far as adjusted phasing. It'll be presumably a quick conversation and whether you'd find what they're, we've got every dots, I's dotted, T's crossed. They are asking that if he gets it in, that he might be able to address the commission on March 6th. Again, that is the date for the public hearing for the text amendments. But I just kind of wanted feedback from you whether or not the possibility of adding it with that public hearing. I would say after the public hearing is expected to have, the consultant as well as members of EDC and some business owners, so you might be. So so the way the project, and I don't want to speak too much because I don't think I'll have, I can't give you the big picture. In fairness to him, I want him to be able to give you the big picture, but the project itself was laid out in 4 phases. Now, typically, when we have a multifamily, we may issue COs as the buildings go up, not as each unit goes up, but as sections go up in that. But the phasing was laid out on your plan that included all those units at the same, not at the same time, but in the same phase. He wants to then be able to get COs as he builds. He's building back from the turnpike with the first of the units first. What? Oh, certificates of occupancy, I'm sorry, so that they can occupy and start renting the property. It has to do with their OSTA permit, with their financing, with a lot of nuances to it. And I said, the part of the discussion was this town staff not being comfortable unilaterally going, yeah, you're good to go and we'll allow you to do this or that. We'd like you to give some feedback on that. Of course, unfinished work gets bonded, and that is a typical thing as well. But whether you'd consider him doing his small discussion he's presented as a small discussion with the commission on the 6th, or I should advise him that we can't fit it in until the 20th. Yeah, he wants to see each building at a time.
Six, are we gonna be too heavy there?
That's my son.
What's his name? Hi, Joseph. Oh my goodness. Well, we've been trying to figure out who was. No familiarity in that face. Okay, so. Or I can discuss it with the chair as to when it comes closer as to whether or not it fits and he has the information needed. I can do that too. Okay, that's what I heard.
Next up, we actually have executive session. I'll go ahead and, well, okay. So, I'll do more detail into executive session for the purpose of actually talking about 1906 Berlin LLC. And
Ryan doesn't want to do it.
pending litigation. and whatnot.
That's
Okay, I'm for lack
Okay.
of. whatever.
Lack of
Somebody-
enthusiasm.
Yeah, come on, this is the last part of the agenda, and look, it's only 8:45, so we can get through this. All right,
Okay.
we got 15 minutes. A
Um,
motion,
Do we expect Jennifer?
Join at any moment.
okay. We expect Jennifer to join us and invited in.
Maureen, Alexa?
Alexa. And
And Pat.
Pat Snow. And then we, of course, will not be making any decisions when we come out of executive session, but we'll be adjourning, right?
That is correct.
So, anyone?
So you
on-
can say that after I make them.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll move to go into executive session to discuss the status of pending litigation of 1906 Berlin LLC versus Planning and Zoning Commission, and to consider whether to convene an executive session to discuss the status of the pending litigation of 1906 Berlin LLC versus Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Berlin. And we will invite Jennifer Coppola, Maureen Giusti, Alexa, Gorlick, and Pat Snow to join us.
Okay. So, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Ogan. Do I have further discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, so moved. For those of us out in Zoom land, after our executive session, we will be adjourning the meeting immediately without a decision. So for those who have joined us, baby and all, I'm going to say good night. And Steve Biella, I guess we're going to call you on the phone and
Sounds
try
good.
to get, all right, so we'll talk with you soon. Good night, everyone. Goodbye, Joseph.
Good night.
Yeah, exactly.